right, welcome. My name is Amy. I'll be your library host for this evening's program. Tonight we have Catherine Miller with us. She is the program coordinator for the Triple P program, which is a positive parenting program. It's a multi-level system of family intervention designed to reduce behavioral and emotional problems, part of Boone County Early Childhood Coalition. Tonight's workshop will focus on tweens and teens learning how to help children have emotional resilience by recognizing, understanding, and accepting feelings, as well as how to cope with stressful and upsetting feelings. I will turn it over to Catherine. Thank you, Catherine.
Hello. Thank you, Amy. Like she said, I'm Catherine Miller, and I do the Positive Parenting program here in Boone County. And what's wonderful about our program is we are funded by the Boone County Children's Services Board. And so what that means is as long as you live in Boone County, our programs are free to you. So we offer one-on-one sessions to work with behaviors that may be going on. When we say behaviors, it doesn't mean necessarily something negative. It could be dealing with how to handle your emotions. I have a kiddo with some ADHD or anxiety. I have a kid who in the teenagers who's talking back. We're struggling with routines. With my littles, it's more of those hitting, kicking, tantruming, bedtime routines. I've been working lately with setting boundaries with parents. So how do we successfully take away the cell phones? How do we set rules and boundaries with the teen age? So any of those things are something I could work with you. Usually our sessions are about 4 to 6 weeks. We usually take the problem, work through it. You come to me, we talk about it together. We set a plan of action. You go out and work that plan of action. We come back and talk about it, talk about what went well, what kind of things that we could do better. You go back out and work the plan again. And so we kind of do that until we have something consistently that works. And then when you have something that works, we're done. So that's how the one-on-ones go. And then the seminar. So this is an example of a seminar that I'll be doing for the library tonight, but we can do them for groups individually. So let's say you have a mom group friend that you want a specific topic to be presented on. I'll be happy to do that again for free. So church groups, 4-H, friend groups, anybody, as long as you guys live in Boone County, we can do those for free. So feel free to reach out to me. Amy can throw my email in there and I'd be happy to set that up. Excuse me. So tonight we're going to be talking about raising resilient children, and we're really going to focus on that teen age. There we go. So we'll talk about what emotional resilience in children is. We'll talk about our building blocks for success. Then we'll do some take-home messages, and then if you have any questions, we'll go over those. So one thing I do want to point out is Triple P comes from Australia. So you'll see one of the examples is recognize. It's the way it's spelled. So they use things like OU, so color, we would spell them COLOR. They spell it COLOUR. And then there's some S's and Z's that are intertwined or mixed. So I don't want you to think our slides are incorrect. That's just the way they come, because they do come from the UK. So emotional resilience is the ability to recognize, understand, and accept feelings. We want to learn how to express feelings in an appropriate way, face and resolve difficult situations, cope with stressful or upsetting situations, and these abilities are related to a child's development. So let's kind of walk through this. As we're talking about resilience, we kind of want to talk about why is it important for kids to be resilient? So many people have heard, kids are resilient. They have the ability to bounce back from situations. And for the most part, that is very true. But how children are, their developmental level, their supports, and the things that they have built around them help to make that secure level so that they can bounce back. So we'll kind of talk about the importance of resilience. So children need to be able to learn to cope with everyday feelings and difficult situations. It's just kind of part of life. When we think about raising children, the first kind of younger years, we're thinking about getting kids ready for school age, right? Kindergarten readiness. We're teaching them about their social emotional control. We're making sure that they have gross motor skills. So that's that jumping, kicking, things like that. Fine motor skills. So using your grippers and fingers, we're trying to get them kindergarten ready. Once we get there, that school age time, we're building children that we're going to send out into the world to be successful. So what kind of things as they age do we need to do? So when we're looking at this tween age, they're really starting to deal with their own inner emotions and how the world looks at them and how their peers perceive them. And so it's really, especially starting middle school, is a really hard time in life. You're trying to accept yourself and who you've turned into. So accepting your body, maybe your voice, dealing with that beloved acne, just fitting in, finding your friend group. Sometimes it's neighborhood kids who've gone to school and that's been your friend group, but now there's other neighborhood kids and you're mixing your friend group. And, we see a lot of jealousy with that. So friends think you should be my friend and only my friend. And so when kids branch out, we often find a balance and struggle with kids who struggle with, I want to be their friend, but they don't like this person. So how can I still be that person's friend? So being able to cope with difficult situations is really important at this stage. So some children experience very stressful life events. So even beforehand, they've had a very stressful life. And then, the ability to be able to cope with feelings is related to their social skills and their relationships, tolerance and compassion, and then coping with your life experiences and prevention of emotional problems. So you might be thinking, what's prevention of emotional problems? So it's being able to set your kid up for success when dealing with difficult situations. So I mentioned that peer group. How many people really sit down and have discussions about what a friend is? So from a young age, we define people as friends that maybe don't really deserve that title. So let's say we go to a park, we meet someone new, and you're like, oh, look, we have new friends here to play with, right? We don't really know those people. We just met them today at the park, but we've already started calling them a friend. So actually we give some confusing information to kids as they're little, and they start to take that, right? We go to Bonkers or we go to Tiger Bounce and look, there's some little friends to play with. Let's go make friends with them. And so on one hand, we're teaching our kids to learn how to meet new people and play with new people and be social, right? Absolutely great. But we're also teaching them that someone can be our friend just as we meet them. Maybe not so great because that may cause trust issues later if you think everybody's your friend and then someone treats you not so well. So how do we kind of work through that? So when we're going to start kids to middle school and maybe even before that fourth grade level, we're talking about what's the definition of a friend. Talking to them that they can have more than one best friend, especially girls. Girls really struggle with ownership of one another. So this is my best friend. They can be your friend, but they can't be your best friend. Versus we can have multiple best friends. So this is my best friend in band and we do band things together. This is my best friend in track and we do all of our track stuff together. Like it's okay to have more than one best friend. Helping, kids to realize you may have a circle, in an inner circle of close friends, but you also may have an outer circle of friends. And from that outer circle, you have acquaintances, people that at school that you're okay with, that you socialize with and talk with. You may do things with them at school, but maybe you don't do anything outside of school with them. So like helping your child to understand there's layers of friendship. And that's something I think as parents, we maybe don't do a good job at. And preparing our kids that when they get into making all these different friend groups, that there are layers of friends. All right, so the benefits of being resilient for children is that emotionally resilient children are caring and socially skilled. They're empathetic and they're sensitive. Most of the time, they're able to manage their emotions. They're able to cope with stress or unpleasant situations, and they're less likely to resort in unhelpful ways of coping. When we talk about unhelpful ways of coping, now today there's a lot of cyberbullying where you get behind someone's rally on a screen. So someone's making fun of someone else, and then everyone tag teams behind it on social media. You're sharing the negativity, you're snapping from Snapchat out the negativity, right? You're not being helpful. You're not helping that person cope. So those resilient kids would say, this isn't the right thing to do. There's no point in being hurtful to someone else. I'm not going to engage in it. Sometimes that puts a a lot of social pressures on kids when other children are looking at them to comment or to like a snap or like somebody's story. There's a lot of social pressure. So how do you help your kid understand the right things to do in these social situations? So we'll talk about some building blocks: recognizing and accepting feelings, expressing those feelings appropriately, building a positive outlook, developing coping skills, dealing with negative feelings, and then dealing with stressful life events. So let's start with the first one, developmental changes. So children gradually learn how to recognize and understand their emotions and those of others. So when you think about that when kids are little, we start out as babies making faces at them, we're smiling at them, we're trying to match our tone of voice with our face. And so kids are learning that. As they get older, kids are still putting those pieces together. People joke and say, parents get that mom or dad look, right? They don't have to say anything to them, but your face and the way you're looking at your child can express exactly what you're saying, and they understand that. That's kind of that developmental skill that they've learned. Children gradually become aware of different feelings. And so some of the feelings like I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm happy develop into I'm annoyed, I'm embarrassed, I'm shy, I'm bashful. Like we get other emotions and feelings that they start to understand and recognize as they get older. They learn words to describe their feelings. We get in that tween teen stage, and sometimes we don't want to hear the words that they want to use because they're learning to express themselves, but maybe it's not the most appropriate words, but they're getting it out. So we're trying to work with them on being appropriate as well. And then as they grow, they develop those more complex feelings. And these changes are related to their language, their thinking, as well as the experiences that they have. So what can we do as parents? So accept that their ups and downs are going to be normal, especially in that tween teen stage. We see moods go high and low on a regular basis. So helping kids understand that they're doing that, for one. I have a daughter, and I'll say sometimes it's not what you said, it's your tone of voice. So I'm helping her to recognize that her tone is negative or disrespectful. It wasn't necessarily her words. So that's one of the things as parents we're helping them do. Helping them to be emotionally expressive. So when you ask what's wrong and they say nothing, but it's clear that something's wrong, helping them to understand that if you don't tell me what's wrong or help me to understand what's wrong, I can't do anything for you, or I can't do anything with the situation. You have to be able to explain yourself. I also think that's important as we're advocating for our tweens and teens when they're talking to teachers, right? When they're talking to coaches, they have to be able to find their own voice and be able to express themselves. If they turned in a homework assignment, but the teacher can't find it and they're sure they turned it in, it's not our job as a parent to go rally for them to the teacher. It's our job as a parent to teach them the skills to have a respectful conversation with the teacher about what may have happened and try to walk through it. So helping them be able to share feelings appropriately. You also want to help your child recognize and name emotions. We kind of went over that. And then encourage your child to be emotionally expressive. And so one of the big things I say to parents is, start having conversations with your kids at a young age, asking how their day is, asking about things, being supportive of how they're feeling if they are on a sports team and they lose or they're disappointed, like talking through those feelings. Because when we get to that tween and teen stage, if we haven't built that bond, then we want our kids to start talking to us and they're like, I haven't been talking to you all along. Why do you want to? And they start to feel like you're probing them and you're meddling with them, you're getting in their business. But if this was your continuous conversation and you always had conversation and asked them about their day and their friends and those kind of things, it won't seem like it's out of the blue and you're just starting to meddle with them because they have a life, right? All right, being able to express feelings appropriately. So what emotional expression is okay? So we want them to have words, expressions, and actions. So all those things have to match, right? And when they come in the door, and so they're upset, their face looks upset, they may slam a door and you say, what's wrong? And they're like, nothing. And you're like, no, something is clearly wrong, and nothing. So you might say to them, so your words, your actions, and your face don't all match. And if it's something that's going on that you don't care to share with me yet, please be respectful and say, I don't care to share this at this time. but the way you just came in the house or the way you're carrying yourself says something different. So helping them to understand, like, it's okay to say to your parent, I'm not ready to talk about this right now, but you can't expect us as parents to not think anything's wrong when you're slamming doors, you're huffing and puffing, and your words and your demeanor and things don't all match. We want to talk to our kids about when to express their feelings. So to who, how often, and how much. The teen tween stage, we get to a point where they want to tell everybody their business, and that's not always the best. So helping your kids understand, who should we be talking about our deep emotions to? Who should we trust when we're talking about our family and our family business and things that go on in our household? Just really helping them to understand, we don't put our whole lives on social media, the damningness of social media, right? The things that you can say that can get you in trouble. We're really having deep conversations about what's okay to post, who we should be posting, those kind of things. Again, what emotional expression is not okay. And then what is our family and cultural expectations? So sometimes for parents, we come into our own traps, talking too much about our own feelings. So we're telling our kids our whole world, or, we're in the car having conversations with, maybe it's your best friend or somebody, and you're telling all your life story, or you're talking about the opposite parent in a negative way, and kids hear that, right? That's not quite appropriate. Find some time to have your own personal conversations away from your kids. Everybody can probably think about in your head the kid that knows the whole parent's life story and they're all in their parent's business, and they could tell everything to someone else about that parent because the parent shares and talks about even all the negative things in front of their child. Dwelling on upsetting events. So, if you can't move on from negative situations, you'll teach your child not to either. And they'll sit in that negative space because they've seen you sit in that negative space. Showing too much interest in feelings. So that's a little confusing, but that's maybe constantly nagging them. You don't seem to be okay. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Instead of saying, it appears that you're not okay and there's something going on with you. I like to be able to discuss it when you feel comfortable, versus what's wrong. And then they feel like you're nagging them and they shut down with you. And then being overly sympathetic or encouraging avoidance. So we're not teaching them to face whatever's going on or to work through it. Instead, we're like, oh, you don't have to deal with it. Overreacting to minor upsets. So, you join in the negativity of something that happened at school, and you're ready to go up to school and join in on the arguments that are kid focused, for example. Not giving enough attention to other behavior. So sometimes we only focus on our kids' negative behavior and we forget to praise them or talk good about the behavior that we see that we want to see. So no matter the age, we want to still highlight and point out when they're doing good things, talking to you respectfully, making good choices. We still want to point those things out. And sometimes as they get older, we forget to do that as much. Talking about our feelings. So asking how your child feels, we kind of mentioned that. Making sure we're listening to what they say, right? We're not, how's your day? And we're on a phone or we're scrolling or we're doing other things, right? We want to give them the respect that we would want. We would want our kids to put our phone down and pay attention to us if we're having a conversation. So making sure we're doing the same for our kids. Summarize what they say. So make sure that they feel like you're engaged in their conversation and that you're having an actual conversation with them. And then avoid telling your child how they should feel. So if they said, I was really disappointed, and you're like, you shouldn't feel disappointed. You should feel, let's not say that, because people are allowed to sit in the feeling that they have. That's just what we're allowed to do. If we feel a certain way, we are allowed to feel that certain way, right, wrong, or indifferent, right? We're allowed to feel the way we choose to feel, but we have to work through and understand why we feel that way. So one of the things in our little kids we can do is read stories and talk about how the character's feeling. Sometimes we can relate that to a movie, if you know a good movie, especially a kid's first breakup. Finding a good movie that shows a breakup and a bounce back might be something you do. And then help your child recognize feelings in others. So how are other people feeling? Why might they feel this way? Why do you think they're upset with you? Like helping them to work through and understanding emotions and feelings. Again, so important in that tween and teen stage, because they really look with blinders on. They can understand the situation from only their point of view. So helping them to understand why they might have hurt their friends' feelings or why people are acting that way. So they learn other perspectives of feelings. And then encouraging your children. So give your child positive attention for expressing feelings in appropriate ways, positive or negative. So if they're able to control themselves in a situation where you know they're very upset, praise them for that and tell them that they handled it well. Congratulate your child for managing difficult situations. Those things are going to happen, especially locker room brawls for sports. I've heard parents talk about, sports in general. Oftentimes teammates get upset with each other. How do we respectfully handle that and talk to our teammates when we're upset? Those kind of things. So we want to deal with problems. So even in this tween and teen stage, when they're asking for more freedom and we're perhaps giving more freedom, we have to still discipline. Parents really get caught up in that freedom stage that we give kids because, a lot of times, right, they have a cell phone so they can call us when they need a ride. We can get a hold of them while they're doing things. And so when it comes to them being disrespectful or it's time to take that phone away as a consequence, we're hesitant to do so because it inconveniences our life. So how do we set good discipline guides? Do we have rules to the phone? Does the phone get plugged up overnight so it's not in the room and they can stay on it on all hours? Like setting good rules and boundaries for phones, friends, going to other people's houses. Like what are the rules and having them and being consistent with them. Tell your child what to stop doing. So if they're being disrespectful to you, making sure you're having that conversation with them about it. By giving them a brief explanation of what they're doing, what you like your child to do instead, and use backup consequences if needed. So an example of that, I told you, my daughter has a bad habit of, it's not exactly what she says, but it's her tone of voice. And so I'm modeling for that. I'm saying, hey, you said, why are you worried about it? Right? That was, since I felt that was very rude. What you could have said is, hey, mom, I don't understand why you're concerned with this. And help me, and then I could respond and tell you why I'm concerned, and then you would have a better outlook versus your tone that just said it's not your business, and I felt like it is because you're my child. So, helping your child to understand why you may be asking the questions you're asking, but more importantly, how they're responding to you and why that's upsetting you. And you yourself, make sure you're modeling better ways of expressing feelings. If you fly off the handle and cuss people out, don't be surprised if your kid flies off the handle and cusses people out, right? They model what they see. So if they see you having respectful conversations, they're more apt to have respectful conversations because they're modeling the behaviors that they've seen in handling conflict. All right, our third building block is having a positive outlook on things. So you want your kids to be optimistic in their thinking, have curiosity and exploration and contentment. So what does this look like in our tween and teen age? Optimistic thinking. It may be trying out for a team or a sport, joining a club or group, being optimistic that they'll be accepted in these things, that they have the ability to even try out. Curiosity and exploration. So in this teen stage, they're understanding their own bodies, they're understanding the opposite sex or the same sex or who they may have attractions to. So you're really helping them to understand their emotions and feelings and putting things together and having conversations about it. And then what it's like to be content. What does that feel like? Helping your kid to understand it's okay to not want to do anything with anybody, it's okay to sit in the house by yourself and just enjoy your family, but really talking through emotions with your kids because they're learning about themselves. And they're coming into an adulthood and they really don't have that understanding. One of the biggest things that, I think is missing is that childhood friendships. A lot of kids aren't making good childhood friendships or good connections because we're so overly involved in sports and activities and things that there isn't that like hangout time. So a lot of kids after school or during the summers would be outside all the time, making friends, doing things. And a lot of kids' lives are so structured and so rigid that they don't have time to make natural friends and have natural fights and natural makeups and those kind of things because their lives are so structured. We have gymnastics and we have basketball and we have baseball and we have, we have, and kids don't have time to make some of those natural connections unless they occur with those sporting friends or with those activity friends. We want to encourage optimism. So model being optimistic. Again, we're being positive about the things, encouraging goals, not just the what do you want to be when you grow up, but where do you see yourself? Are you talking about college or education or, people don't have to have a 4-year college. There's 2-year things you can get into. Trade school, how important trade school is, but having conversations about what your kid's future is and what options there are. Encouraging them at a young age to try different things to see what they may like in life so that they can find a career path or a pattern. Encourage initiative and creativity. So, reach out, try new things, suggest something. If your school doesn't have a club and you're really interested in it, say, hey, talk to the guidance counselor about starting a club. Encourage activities where your child will experience success. So kind of at a young age, setting your kids up for successful events that they can try. Giving them room to fail and say it's okay. So, hey, let's try soccer. Let's try baseball. Let's try softball. Let's try lots of things so we can find what we're good at, and telling them it's okay that we're not good at these things. We don't know that we are good at them or not good at them until we try them. So really encouraging them to try new things and being okay with not being successful, but having them stick it out so they can be sure about it, right? If you're paying $150 for football and 2 weeks in, they're like, I don't like it. You're like, okay, I understand we don't like it, but we paid $150 and we're going to keep trying. And maybe we can find a spot for you. So you don't like being hit. Can we talk about being a manager on the football team? Can we talk about what other positions there might be? Can we talk about what other things you might want to do, right? We don't just teach them it's okay to give up on things. If you tried and given it your all and you're okay with them walking away, that's one thing. But just being like, I tried it a couple of times. I don't like it. I'm not going to finish out the 8 weeks or 12 weeks. Sometimes the team is depending on you for showing up. So really kind of talking to them about the importance of your own self-integrity, showing up when people or teams think you're supposed to show up, those kind of things. Show your child has control over events. So it's important for them to realize their space in the activities and how important, kind of like I mentioned, just on a team, right? If the team only has 7 players and you decide that you're no longer showing up, well, if somebody gets hurt, they barely have enough to play. So the importance of showing up and being a part of something. Making sure you're pointing out what your child does well. When you see them excel in something or they have potential, tell them about it, making sure that they can try, maybe go further in it, and talk about the good side of things, right? Even in most bad situations, there's maybe something good that can come out of it. And so trying to help them learn how to find the good in things will help them be more resilient and bounce back and just not sit in the bad of what happened. We want to encourage curiosity. So encourage your child to decide what to do. Let your child explore and show interest in things. Be available when your child wants to show you something. And that's even our older kids. A lot of times, they're excited to tell you about something new that they did, or a club that they joined, or something that they're interested in. So making sure you're available to hear those interests. Ask questions and make comments, and teach your child how to find out more information about something that they want to learn more about. So I have a kid that's welds, right? He got very interested at an early age, and he's been taking welding at the Career Center. And he's at Hickman now, but it started at the Career Center. And so I was like, I don't know much about welding, buddy, but you're going to have to go research it. I think they have it at the Career Center. What do you need to do? What are the different classes? I encouraged him to go find the information about what the school offered. So teaching your kid, hey, if you're interested in this, how do you research more? How do you ask questions? How do you, get yourself involved? Encourage contentment. So model being appreciative and grateful. Ask about your kids' highlights during the day. Have shared family experiences. So that may be where you sit around the dinner table, or that you just are able to have discussions with each other. We're talking about things that are going on in the family. Discuss other people's points of view. So, being able to discuss that our kids are, that everyone doesn't have to have the same beliefs, but we have to be respectful in the conversations that we're having. Discuss accepting things that can't be changed, right? So if something, the COVID-19, has been a great time to have those discussions. So things are canceled. People didn't get to have prom or events, and it was really sad, but there's nothing we can do about it, right? How do we accept things that we have no control over to change? Encourage involvement in meaningful activities. So having your kids find activities that they enjoy and being a part of it. And then encourage your child to slow down and take in their world, right? So find things to do that are fun. Go to football games or basketball games or the school play with your friends. Just take it all in and enjoy life with your friends and have fun. All right, our fourth building block is developing coping skills. Extremely, extremely important. So we want to make sure that we're teaching our children how to have problem solving, positive self-talk, talking back to unhelpful thoughts, relaxing mentally and physically, and asking for help and support. All very important things for kids as well as adults to do. So helping problem solve. So be a good example. You know, don't always give your kids the answer. Talk through with them, help them look at the pros and cons of things so that they can make good decisions. You know, often when they're young, we're playing games that promote thinking. How many people play memory and match and those kind of games with their kids, right? We encourage children to find answers. So again, having them look through things, research things, and come talk to you about it. Prompt your child to work at problem solving. Congratulate your children when they do solve problems on their own or they're being able to work through things. And then if it's a family problem, you know, making sure you're involving all the family that's involved, that's going to be part of the outcome. So talking with the whole family about things. So what are the steps to problem solving? So first we got to define what the problem is. Then we ask everyone who's a part of it to come up with some solutions. We may have heard this in the real world is brainstorming. So we come up with all kinds of solutions. Some of them may be good, some of them not so good, some of them not even plausible, but we put them all down. And then we evaluate those options. We talk about how they might work, how they might not work. We evaluate them. And then after all of that, we decide on the best solution that we have, and we put the plan into action. And then we talk about how we will put this plan in action, but we'll review it. So if it doesn't work out, it's okay. We'll revise the plan and try again. Making sure we're building positive self-talk in our kids. So ask your child to evaluate their own achievements, explain how thinking in different ways affects how they feel. So again, asking them to think about how someone else might feel, what are the, you know, how the other side might think about things, and point out helpful and unhelpful thinking. So, you know, if they're being negative about a situation, asking them about how that being negative is helpful to the situation, but just helping them to understand the situation as a whole. And then model using positive self-talk in your ability to cope with stress. Relaxation, oh, so needed, but so many people don't do it, right? Provide a good example of stress management. In the last year plus, that's been really hard. We've had so many things going on at once that it might have been hard to handle stress, but, you know, persevering through it and showing your kids that we've been able to manage everything that's been thrown against us has been a good way to model through this last year. Helping children find ways to relax that work for them. Some strategies include those taking slow, deep breaths, relaxing their muscles, listening to calming music. The library has a great selection of CDs that you can listen to for relaxing and calming music. They also have where you can download things online. So that's fabulous as well. When we're talking about supports, where do we look for support? So discussing how everyone might need to talk to someone now and again, and talking about it's okay to get support from others. And then who do we get supports from? So it might be a close family member, a trusted friend, a school teacher, a counselor, but talking to your kids about it's okay to find someone trusted to have conversations with. All right, our fifth building block, dealing with negative feelings. So all children, regardless of their age, have negative feelings and emotions, and parents cannot completely protect their children from those feelings. Many of those feelings pass quickly, but being able to talk to your child about it's okay to have negative feelings and how to work through them is important. Parents can calmly assist and prompt their child to problem solve through those negative feelings and dealing with them. Or parents can help children learn how to resolve those negative feelings on our own. So again, we got to get our kids talking and working through those negative thoughts and problems. And then, managing our emotions. That's so hard, especially in that tween teen age. A lot of times they just want to fire off a response or say whatever's on the top of their mind. And sometimes those things have, dire consequences. So, helping notice when your child's upset to kind of get them to talk through it with you versus through their fingers online is helpful. Ask your child what's wrong. And again, listen to them and really talk back to them and summarize the things that you've heard, making sure we're acknowledging their feelings, that we're not dismissing the way they feel and saying, why are you even feeling like that? It's so unnecessary. And we don't want to tell our children that. We want to recognize the way they feel and help them work through that. And ask how you can help, right? You don't have to solve the problem for them, but what place would they like you to have in this problem solving? Maybe they just want you to be a listening ear and do nothing, but just asking, how can I help you? If they're still upset and that continues, you can suggest just cooling off, taking a moment, calming themselves, and then saying, hey, why don't you take a few minutes and, we can talk about this later on. Helping your kid prepare for emotions. So help your child learn how to cope on their own. For example, with anxiety, you can set a good example, talk about those anxious feelings that you might be having. Teach your child coping strategies, encourage facing fears gradually and staying calm. Prompting coping strategies, praising your child for the efforts that they give to work through things, and even talking about dangerous situations. That's important in this tween teen age, talking about the dangers of online predators with some of the social media sites, never getting in a car with strangers, talking about sex trafficking and how, Columbia is a hot zone for that because we're in between highways and like I-70 and 270 in Chicago, and we're just like that, how sex trafficking can occur and how to not be a victim. Teaching your kids to look around their surroundings, and I even remind myself when the holidays are coming, where's my purse? Am I making sure to leave it not attended in a cart somewhere that someone could snatch it? But making sure your kids are putting their personal belongings away. They're keeping track of their backpacks or, their AirPods or whatever they have, that they're keeping track of their important things and being aware of the surroundings, that they're in. Praise your child's efforts and talk about, again, those dangerous situations. All right, our last building block, dealing with stressful life events. So that is what everyone has been doing this last year and a half, right? It's been super stressful and lots of things going on, lots of things out of our control. So talking about, change happens and a lot of things are out of our control, but how do we handle it and how do we work through it? If they've had problems with peers, a lot of people miss their peers, right? So talking through that, you understand it's hard to not be able to see your friends or be able to go out or go to the mall or do things with friends. So really talking through that disappointment that they may have or those unpleasant experiences, of things that might happen to them. A loss, whether that's a loss of a life or a loss of a pet or a loss of something that's important to them, making sure they're talking through it and really working through those feelings of loss. Another stressful life event may be a parent separation or divorce, joining a new family, trauma or serious loss, natural disaster, terrifying experience, and I would add COVID-19 to this list. All things that it may have been stressful, and we may see the repercussions of that later on. So how do we cope with those life events? So it's okay to be upset. Again, allow your child to be upset. If it's a situation that you don't know, ask what happened. Trying to find the positive in a situation, that's important for people to learn how to do, adults included. Reassure your child when appropriate or where appropriate. Don't feel like you have to solve their problems, right? Be a listening ear and being able to work through things with them. Suggest something to cheer your child up if that's something you're okay with. Hey, things are sad. We've talked through this. You want to go for a walk? You want to do something with just me and you? Let's quit thinking about the negative and let's do something else. Encourage, again, those coping skills. Encourage your kids to use them. Check in later with them. Has the situation changed? Are they still dealing with it? Just showing them that you really care about the things that they're going through. And then seek advice if the problem continues, right? Like maybe they need outside help. Would they like to talk to the school counselor? Would they like a counselor of their own? Asking them if they'd like someone else to talk to who's not you, so that they can still let those emotions and feelings out. All right, so this is just an example of something big that might be happening. You may be moving from a different house, so you would talk about why the move is necessary. Talk to your child about the new situation, talk about the advantages, get your child involved. So have them pack up their room and talk about how fun it might be, making sure you're maintaining your routines, and then help your child keep in touch with friends. So that's just an example of how you can help them work through something that might be traumatic or seen as a loss to them. Dealing with a loss. So consider your child's developmental level, reassure your child where appropriate, encourage appropriate expressions of feelings, provide information for them, and then maintain routines as much as possible. So important. And then arrange a child care if the loss affects you. So if you can't handle a situation and you're struggling, who's going to help your child or take care of your child or children? Talk about feelings, copings, memories, and seek advice and support. All right. So we kind of rolled through things quickly, and if there's any questions that we might have, we can go through those. All right, Amy. I don't think we have any questions.
All right, trying to come back. There I am. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. There we go.
I think we put in the chat how to get a hold of me. We'll put in the chat that post survey if you would still click on that. So even if you're watching after the fact, if you can see those, still utilize them.
Absolutely, yes. And just a reminder that the library is here to help support you, whatever season or stage you're in with your family or yourself. There's lots of resources that we can provide that you can do either at home on your device, or also books and other resources that you can pick up here from the library. So however we can support you, please let us know. We are here for you. All right. Thank you so much, Catherine.
You're welcome.
And everyone have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Bye.